I'm Alex Delgado.
What do you do for fun?
I'm an MMA fighter and a kickboxer.
Ooh, there's a difference. Tell me the difference.
Well, kickboxing is like limited rules, so you can only throw punches, kicks, knees, elbows, and there's like limited grappling. The second like the fight goes to the ground, like basically you just reset and they stand you back up. MMA is like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, lots of grappling, a lot more less rules, and then round lengths different, weight classes are different, stuff like that.
Got it.
Kickboxing is more fun, in my opinion, but MMA is like just better like long term for a career.
So if I wanted to start a career in fighting sports, I would not want to pick kickboxing.
No, only because financially it's like not very good right now. Like it's just like not as popular.
So you can make more money.
You can make way more money in MMA, and just like there's more opportunities with MMA. Like kickboxing is just kind of like, I don't know why, but it just didn't catch on like boxing or like MMA did. It's kind of weird, but I think it's more fun.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know how this was supposed to go. Are you asking me questions?
Yeah, we're
just talking.
We're making stuff up.
Oh.
That's how these go.
Oh, I thought you guys were asking me questions.
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Raymond's leading the interview, man. You just let him lead you.
He lead me, Raymond.
He told me to ask those questions with his mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really. Can you teach me how to do that?
On another podcast.
Oh, okay.
That'll be
first. He has to teach you how to delegate.
Oh.
No,
that's not gonna happen.
I don't do that.
Okay.
So, you had your first MMA fight?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago.
Tell me about it.
I lost a decision, but I learned a lot, and I've been training for a while now, but I didn't have any injuries or anything. I don't know. I felt like I learned a lot, so I wouldn't change how it went, but there's definitely a lot of stuff like leading up to my next one that I'm gonna change and like switch up.
So you plan on switching things up?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I don't have any excuses for why I lost the fight. The guy was just more experienced than I was, and I didn't feel like I didn't get outclassed or anything. He just I don't know. He just had my number that night. I don't know. There's just some minor things that I need to like switch up leading up to the next one. Just like tiny things.
So what are some of those things that you would make adjustments on in preparing for your next fight?
I feel like leading up to the fight, I definitely had like a way I thought the fight was gonna go, and it didn't happen. Like, a little bit at the beginning, but like it didn't happen after like the first 30 seconds, and then like my whole game plan just kind of like went out the window, and I kind of freaked out. And I was prepared like in almost every form. Like I had some injuries leading up and whatever, but like other than that, I was prepared. I just mentally I couldn't like flip the switch, and like when everything kind of got thrown like the game plan threw out the window, I was just like, oh shit, like I don't know. So I just kind of freaked out and got nervous, but it was just an experience thing.
Yeah.
So going into my next one, that's definitely one thing I'll be prepared for, is just like where the fight ends up going. Like I'll just kind of flow with it, because I was just so set on like it going a certain way, and it like me having to do certain things, and then it didn't happen like that, and I was just like, oh no, what am I gonna do?
Right.
And yeah.
So your preparation didn't match what your reality was, and then that kind of threw you for a loop?
I wouldn't say my preparation. I prepared for like everything. Like I was prepared for wherever the fight went. I didn't really take any damage. I got hit a couple times pretty good, but other than that, like I did a lot of damage to him. I controlled position. I did a really good job minimizing damage when I was in bad positions, and I thought I was doing really well. But it was just like a mental thing. Like it just threw me off like at the beginning, because it didn't start out how I thought it was going to.
Gotcha. There
were like hints of it. Like we thought he was going to come out a certain way. We thought he was just going to come out swinging, which he did. We were correct about that, and then we thought he was going to try and take me down against the cage. He tried to do that too for like, I want to say like 10 seconds, but then after that it was just like I was just like on autopilot. Like it was just like kind of weird. I don't know. Plus the adrenaline dump kind of got to me. Like it was the first one, so I don't know. Definitely experience. I think that was like definitely the biggest factor. But I trained really hard for it, and Yeah, I don't know. He was better than me that night, so it's all right.
So not necessarily preparation physically, right?
Mentally.
It sounded like you were where you felt like you needed to be for the fight, but so mentally.
Yeah, mentally, leading up to the fight was like my biggest thing. Like I was really nervous. Like I was very excited. Like, but I was nervous like as to how I was gonna perform. Like I had a really big crowd, and like the crowd didn't bother me at all. Like I wasn't nervous for that. I wasn't nervous to like perform for anybody besides myself. Like I was nervous that I wasn't gonna perform to my best of my abilities. Like I know I can, because like I train in the gym, and like everyone sees how I train in the gym. Like at least my team does, but like all that goes into like that one night, and then like I was just worried like, oh, if I do bad, like people are gonna just think about, like they're gonna think like, oh wow, he's not very good. But it's like no one sees like what I do in the gym, so it's like I wanted to perform how well I do in the gym. And like realistically, it's probably not like that wasn't really the smartest thing, because it's kind of hard to replicate hours and hours and hours and hours of training in like a 9-minute fight. But I just there was just like I just had like a mental block. Like I don't know, I couldn't like just flip the switch from training to fighting, which I did. I feel like I did later on in the fight, but at the start it was really hard to flip the switch just mentally, and I was doubting myself a little bit.
So in that flipping of the switch, what does that look like?
I don't know. I was kind of hesitant, like to let go, like just let go on my punches. I was landing a lot of damage with my kicks and stuff, but I was very like hesitant to just let go 100% and go 100%. I had some stuff leading up to the fight that happened that kind of impacted my training a little bit. I had to adjust a lot of stuff, and I was worried, like mentally, one of the biggest things was like I was worried I was going to gas myself out earlier in the fight, because I didn't want to. There was just some stuff I couldn't do in training because of injuries and stuff that I'm not going to talk about. I don't want to make excuses, but I just like, I don't know. I was very hesitant, and I had been thinking about that. It had been in the back of my head the entire training camp. Like it happened 2 weeks into training. I got injured, and I mean, it was always in the back of my head, and it was in the back of my head in the fight too. Like I was thinking in the fight, like, okay, don't do this, because if you do that, you might get tired, and if you get tired, I mean, we know it's going to be because of this, and I shouldn't have had that going on my mind. Gotcha. I think I was focusing on too many other things.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So you said you got injured.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So
getting injured as you were physically preparing and training for your fight.
It was really difficult. I honestly would have probably had to pull out of the fight if it wasn't for the recovery room. I hurt my ankle pretty bad. I was doing local on it 2 times a day, 3 times a day. Every time I was working, coming in the days I'm not working. It 100% guaranteed if I wouldn't have, been in here, if I wouldn't have been doing local, I would have 100% had to pull out of the fight. Okay. Like I couldn't walk for 3-4 days. Wow. My ankle was like this big. It was like the size of a softball. It was ridiculous. Worst like foot injury I've ever had. Like I broken some toes and stuff, and like nothing compared to it. I was like seriously like considering pulling out of the fight a weekend. So yeah, local saved me on that one. Local. For real, it always saves me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you already addressed that mentally. You'll approach it differently.
Yeah.
Now, is there a certain mindset that you want to have going into this next fight?
I leading up to the fight, like I'm friends with a lot of fighters, obviously, but like a lot of people have different ways they approach their fights. Like some people like to be really angry when they fight, and like it makes it easier for them. But some people like to just have fun, and, like be super loose. And I heard all this stuff coming in, like the way some people act and the way some people react to it and the way they treat it, and like I think I was just I wasn't sure how I wanted to feel like in the moment. Like I felt everything, but at the same time I was like just kind of confused on how I wanted to deal with it. And just like mentally there was just some stuff in the back of my head I was like always thinking about, and it like I think that's kind of what affected my performance. I just like leading up to the fight, before the fight I was supposed to do a jiu-jitsu tournament, and it was my first tournament. It was supposed to be my first tournament, and like everyone was saying, oh yeah, you need to do like a tournament before your MMA fight. And then like the tournament got moved to after the fight, like it's next weekend now, and it was supposed to be 3 weeks before my fight. It got moved, and then like I didn't end up doing it, so everyone was like, oh yeah, you need to do a tournament before your fight, or you're gonna freak out, the adrenaline dump's gonna be too much. And like mentally, like hearing that like before my fight, I was like, okay, so you think I'm gonna do bad because I don't have a tournament? Like right. I've never done anything like competition wise. And that was always in the back of my head, and it was stupid. Like, I shouldn't have even stressed about it, because, like, all things considering, I did very well. I was winning the second. I won the second round, and then I was winning the third round. There's some minor things I could have done better that I think would have got me the win. But, like, looking back at it, I wish I would have, like, just ignored everyone else's opinions, because they weren't fighting. So it was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I was told. I was told to ignore it, and I was told not to let certain things bother me. And, like, I just had so much going on. Like, mentally, I was, like, overwhelmed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing, just trusting your own instincts, trusting yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. I just I doubted myself too much.
Gotcha.
And, which I don't know why. Like, because I 100% believe in myself. Like, I put, like, all my eggs into, like, one basket, basically, with training. I want to be an MMA fighter. Like, I'm going to be UFC world champion one day. And, like, I'm committed to it. Like, I train so hard. But it's just, like, I doubted myself for some reason. Like, and I didn't really do it most of the time, like, leading up to the fight. Like, I 100% believed I could beat him. I still believe I could beat him. I think if I fought him next weekend, I'd beat him. Yeah. But it's just some mental stuff I had to get over. And I think now that I got my first one out of the way, I think, like, there's no pressure. Like, I feel so much better now. But I wish I would have, like, felt like this before. So going in, I wouldn't have had, like, any distractions, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're scheduled to fight again?
Yeah, so I'm lined up for a kickboxing match February 27th.
Okay.
I don't have an opponent yet, but hopefully there'll be news soon about me getting an opponent.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm doing a couple tournaments, like, from now to then. I have a tournament next weekend, and then I have another jiu-jitsu tournament in January. So get some more competitions under my belt.
Yeah, definitely.
Before then, yeah.
So how are you approaching these upcoming tournaments that you'll have? What mindset are you taking with you into those?
I mean, honestly, I don't really feel like there's any pressure, because I did the hardest, like, the hardest competition you could do in combat sports, like, before, like, the jiu-jitsu tournament. Like, a jiu-jitsu tournament is just grappling. It's, like, essentially like wrestling with, submissions, chokes, arm bars, stuff like that. So there's no punches or, like, kicks being thrown. But, like, that compared to an MMA fight is, like, not really. I mean, it's a huge difference. Like, it's just not as intense. So now that I got the MMA fight out of the way, like, my first one, like, I don't really have any pressure going into that jiu-jitsu tournaments. Like, I'm very confident going in. So I'm very excited for those. It's just good, just mat time, getting more experience under my belt. So then I get used to that adrenaline, get used to that feeling of, like, combat. But yeah, I'm really excited for those. And yeah, I did the hardest one first, so it's like everything else is up from here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So you mentioned before that one of the emotions you experienced when you were in the ring for your first fight was doubt.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So have you thought about ways that you will approach that doubt if it comes back when you're in the ring again?
I was really scared of it, like, in the first round. Like, in the moment, I was very scared of it. And I remember, like, in the first round, he came out, like, right when the fight started. You probably remember, he, like, flurried me super hard. Yeah. I rewatched the fight. I've rewatched it, like, 1,000 times. Yeah. But, like, he didn't hit me with any of those punches, but he just overwhelmed me. And then that second that happened, like, he went for a takedown. I defended it. And then, like, we, like, broke off, and I slipped and fell, and then I got back up. And I remember right then, like, when I had him he had me against the cage, and I was defending it. I remember just, like, thinking about it. I was like, okay, like, you're doubting yourself. Like, why are you doubting yourself? And I tried to solve the problem, like, in the cage, and I should have had that, like, solved before. Like,
gotcha.
So, I don't know. I was afraid, like, I wouldn't be able to rise to the occasion and, like, perform well. And I still performed well. I mean, obviously I didn't win. And, like, as a competitor, it's like, I don't like participation trophies, so it's, like, kind of, like, hard to, like, hear when people say that I did things well. I did do things well, though. I know what I need to improve. I really think it was just probably, like, my first competition, and I just had doubt going into that. But now I know, like, I can perform under pressure, and, like, I do, like, have what it takes. So it's going to be, I think, a lot easier going into the next one.
So you'll be using the experience that you gained, right? Yeah. To then take that with you. So if that doubt does arise, you're able to refer back to what you have accomplished.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I was in a couple bad spots in the fight, like, where a lot of people would have been probably able to finish the fight, and I defended well, and I did everything I had to do. Yeah. And I listened to my coaches and my corner, and I don't know, I know that if I can get through some stuff like that, like, I can do it.
For sure.
So, yeah,
that's awesome. Man.
Yeah.
It's great that you're able to use what you've been through to continue on.
Yeah, thank you.
And to progress. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've watched the fight, like, 1,000 times. Like, that's all I've been able to think about, really.
Now, how has that been in watching the fight? What are some of the things that you think about when you watch it?
it stings because there's so many times, like, if it was in the gym and I was sparring with, like, the same guy that I fought, it would have gone so differently. But, like, obviously the crowd and, like, the, you know, in the gym we wear, like, shin guards and we wear more gear, and it's, like, it's different. Sparring is, everyone always, like, compares sparring to, like, fights. It's not the same, though, because in sparring there's no adrenaline, like, you're not tense, like, you're just loose, you're flowing, because you're with people you know, you train with all the time, like, that hit you all the time, so it's different. But I just know, like, I didn't perform how I could have. Like, I performed well. It was a competitive fight. I just know I could have performed so much better. Like, I've seen myself do things better in the gym that I wouldn't have done, like, or better. There's stuff I did in the cage that I wouldn't have done in the gym.
Right.
For example, like, just tiny things that I do all the time, and, like, I don't know why I didn't do that. Like, in the third round, I head kicked him and I wobbled him. Like, I watched the fight over and over again. Like, he wobbled and he dropped his hand and started, like. He told me after the fight he was really hurt after I kicked him in the head. So I was just thinking, like, if I would have done that in the gym, I would have just, like, swarmed him. Right. I was like, I don't know why I didn't do that. Like, I just didn't even think about it in the moment. Like, I was watching it, and I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't you just, like, go, like, just put a little more in? And I think mentally, after I got hit the first time, it was a little weird. Like, I was very hesitant to let my hands go. And it's annoying because everyone's like, oh, you need to work on your striking, and blah, blah, blah. Like, your jiu-jitsu is way better than your striking. When, like, in reality, I've been doing striking way longer than I have been jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I just didn't get to show it, but I don't know. It's okay. In MMA, it's like you're only as good as your last fight. So people, like, everyone's an expert. But,
of course.
You know, even though they've never trained in their life, like, or seen you train, like, they're like, oh yeah, you need to work on this, this, and this. Right. I'm like, thanks. I appreciate your opinion.
Well, it is nice, right? I feel like any feedback is a gift. So even though they are coming from a limited perspective, it's still nice.
Right. No.
They are able to give you that feedback, and now you're able to use it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you, as you said, you know the abilities that you have, so you'll just be that much more prepared to actually use them and utilize it for your next fight.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm only 18. Like, I just turned 18 at the end of the summer, so it's like I'm not in any rush. Like, there's so many fighters that, like, they you know, they get old enough to fight, they rush their career, they go pro super early, and then they get to, like, the UFC, they get to these big organizations, and they just, like, crumble because they're just not technically there skill-wise, and they're fighting, like, you know, grown adults. Like, I fought a 38-year-old man for my debut, and, like, he had been training for a long time. Yeah. So it was like, you know, I'm just going to take my time with it. I made my MMA debut, I'm going to make my kickboxing debut, and then get some more jiu-jitsu tournaments, just a lot of experience, and then make my return to MMA in May. So, yeah. Awesome. I'm not in any rush.
It's awesome, man. That's I feel like it's a great mindset to have in your approach. I mean, it definitely feels as if you're in it. Like you said, all your eggs are in one basket. It's great to see, especially because you are 18. Yeah. Most 18-year-olds that I know aren't as aware of what they want and are willing to give everything that they have for it. So it's definitely great to see.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
Now, last question. What is the most valuable thing that you learned about yourself from your fight?
I learned that, like, I truly, like, do have heart, and that, like, I'm, like, meant to be in the sport. Yeah. Like, I was kind of having doubts, like, because leading up to the fight, I mean, even now, people always say, like, oh, you don't have to be a fighter, like, you got good grades in school, like, you could go to college, like, you're handsome, you could be a model, you could do whatever you want. Like, literally all the time, everyone's like, oh, you're too pretty to fight. Like, why would you want to do that? Like, you could do so many other things. And, like, I love it. Like, that's why I do it. Like, I don't have to fight. Like, I don't need to. I wouldn't have to. But, I didn't make any money other than ticket sales on my fight. Yeah. Like, and I trained for 10 weeks going into it, 6 days a week, 2-a-days. So it's like, I don't have to do it, but I love it. So that's why I do it. And I don't know, I just learned that, like, I'm meant to be in the sport, and that, like, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. I respect that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you, man. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time.
Sweet. Yeah. That's awesome.
Just finished up.
That's good.
Timing again.
I mean, I was standing outside the door. So.
Oh.